Okay, so today we're going to be talking about catastrophic events. I've got it separated into two videos. In the first one, we're going to be talking about the weather caused catastrophic events, and then in the second video, we'll be talking about the geological catastrophic events that are occurring. Now, basically this covers the TEACS 7.8a, and what it is it predicts and describes and talks about how the different types of the catastrophic events impact the environment, people, and all around the earth. In this one, we'll be talking about floods and different ones. So, terms we're going to talk about, like I said, there's two different types. You've got weather and your geological. In this one, we're going to be talking about floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, and blizzards. The geological ones are here. They're volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, wildfire, avalanche, and landslides, but that will be covered in video 2, not in this video. So, starting off with the catastrophic weather events, first off we have is floods. Everybody knows what floods are. That's where you have a massive amount of overflowing water in large amounts, beyond normal confines, beyond your normal rainfall that you get day to day, week to week, or however. This can come over a set course of time with constant rain, or you can get it with what's called flash floods, where you have a significant amount of rain all at once to cause the floods to occur a lot quicker, and when this occurs you don't have as much time for preparation, avoidance, and all as far as building up levees, stuff like that. So basically right here you got an example where you can tell the difference in the two water types. So you have your clear water here, which is going to be more of where the rainfall has flooded this normal stuff. So here you've got like your parking lot and different spots, and then down here you can tell by the coloration of the water that you have had like rivers and stuff that have overflowed to where it's the muddy out type. So it's not just your typical rainfall, but it's mixed in with the already muddy river, stuff like that, to where they overflow. Your large bodies such as your Mississippi River, stuff like that, will flood a lot. Your low-lying areas, stuff like that, tend to flood more than your higher elevated areas and stuff. So you also have a bunch of different issues with this. You can have housing damage, flooding of crops, different stuff like that. You also have car dealerships that the whole stock may get flooded out to where you can see here they got Jaguar at this dealership. So all these cars have got damage. It's not even water damage as much as you can tell. This is not clean, nice water. So this is going to end up just running the whole vehicles all the way. Especially if this is salt water, it's going to get in there and mess the whole vehicles up even worse. Now, you've also got hurricanes, which are violent storms that with them they'll bring high winds that are very destructive. They also come in and they also have a lot of rainfall, which will lead back to not only just a lot of rain, you get the high wind damage plus the flood damage that comes in. Typically they'll come out from the east and they'll come up into the United States during what they call hurricane season, and sometimes they'll come across the Gulf. Sometimes they'll hit and go up the East Coast, up Florida, the Carolinas, and up through the north towards Maine. Now, what they do on this is how they can judge the different levels is they have what's called the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. And what it does is it rates them from 1 to 5 as far as the wind speed, the predicted damage, different stuff like that. And they'll categorize them, Category 1, Category 2, all the way up to Category 5, which is where they have the big one. Now, Category 1 and 2s, if they're a hurricane, they're still bad. They're usually referred to as like tropical storms and stuff. They're still going to do damage, just not as significant. You're not going to hear about them as much as you do on the news where they're talking about the big ones. You know, all the hurricanes have names. You don't hear about, hurricane so-and-so, and they're going to come in, and because it's a massive, they're expecting damage, evacuation, and all that. You're not going to have as many people ride that out as you would the smaller storms where they're like, eh. So, what it is typically, your Category 1 is going to be about 74 to 95 miles per hour. Still significant. So basically you've got wind speeds in excess of what you're driving down the road if the speed limit's 70. From there you're going to go up to 96 to 110 is the range for Category 2. Once you hit Category 3, that's where they consider them to be major issue or major storms. At this, you're going to have 111 to 129 mile per hour winds, and that's where your devastating damage starts to occur. Not that your other damages are not going to be as bad, but this is where it's really going to start being significant. Then you have 4, which is 130 to 156. That's where you get into your catastrophic damage. And then anything over 157 miles per hour and up is considered Category 5. So as it goes through, that's where it starts wreaking the damage and all. Now, on this video, you're going to have this meteorologist goes through and he is in a wind tunnel.
Indoors to test the raw power of the wind.
I'm inside the Virginia Tech wind tunnel where wind speeds can get as high as 190 miles per hour. We're not going to go that high today, but we're going to demonstrate the power of wind by going through tropical storm, Category 1, all the way through 5 winds to see how much force actually builds up on me and how much I can actually take. The strongest winds I've ever stood in, probably between 80 and about 95 miles per hour. After that, without a harness like this, there's no way I could stand in the wind. I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little apprehensive at first. I mean, when you start thinking about Cat 5 winds, and then I started envisioning the destruction that they cause, I'm like, I must be on my freaking mind. So here we are now, strong tropical storm force at about 71 miles per hour. We're almost at minimal hurricane. I can feel my skin start to vibrate. But that was just amazing to me, to watch your skin wave like that. I've never seen anything like it. Here we are at minimal hurricane force. Look what happens. All right, I start going for a ride. All right, here we are at 80. I can't lean into it now. Look at my mouth. See what's happening? So, this is about the strongest that I've ever stood in at about 90 miles per hour. Wow. We're at 100. Nobody is standing at 125 miles an hour. So any reporter that says that, it's not happening. Mike Bettis came here and he got to 133.
And I think we just made the record there.
So that gave me something to shoot for. And I thought I could get there and certainly go past that.
33, 34, 35.
When he passed Mike's record at 133, and that's a Category 4.
At 135, it's like, you can't really take a breath of air because there's just so much force even on your mouth. I mean, you could tell just by the way my skin was flapping. When we got to 158.6, my ears had just popped. You can't hear anything. I can definitely feel my skin on my neck and my face. I thought, at any instant, I'm about to go airborne.
We'd never had anybody go that fast before. I was nervous watching it. In fact, I was kind of egging the tunnel operator on to do it a little bit quicker so we would be through it faster.
I'm actually shocked that I got to 158.6. I really wanted to go to 175, but they cut me off. We went to Cat 5? We did.
So you can see that as he's going through, he even said that if you get up to wind speeds that fast, you're not going to be standing. You're going to go airborne, fly away. You're going to have the winds that just carry you off. Kind of like Mary Poppins just blew off all the maids in the movie. Kind of like that. Maybe not the same wind speed there, but you're not going to be standing. You're going to be tumbling down the road. That's why trees are uprooted and all this. Now, in this one, it's going to show you kind of the damage that it'll do to the house as it goes through the categories.
When it comes to hurricanes, each one's impacts are a little bit different, but the wind speeds that we talk about along the Saffir-Simpson scale, those are very specific, and the damage caused in those categories, kind of predictable. So let me show you. Let's start off with a Category 1 storm. And the damage here, not too bad. A couple of shingles fall off, you can have some palm fronds bending in the wind, but everything basically remains intact. Category 2, that's where you really start to feel it. Look at the windows of the house. They can be hit from debris from the outside and already start breaking in a category 2. Your trees are significantly bent over in the wind, and the siding of the house itself can break, flapping there in the wind, adding to those eerie noises inside. Category 3. I've heard only a Category 3, but it's not only anything except really bad news. In a Category 3, you can have the door of the house blown in because the winds get so strong. You can have the roof of the house start to flap up and down in the wind because it can lift off those weak points, and a lot of those trees start to fall. Category 4, the damage is even worse. You get most trees falling, most of your windows breaking, most of your shingles fly away, and then Cat 5 is as high as the category scale goes. By Cat 5, no shingles remain anywhere nearby. The holes in the roof get so big that the walls of the house start to fall because they're not attached to anything anymore. There won't be any trees up in the neighborhood. That's just catastrophic damage. But again, that's just from the wind, and there are other impacts from hurricanes, and they all vary through the season. So stick with the Weather Channel to keep.
Now, like they were talking, you're going to have the damage that they do. So hurricanes are real eye-catching as far as the amount of damage, the intensity of the whole storm and all that. It's not like, hey, there's a bunch of rain. Yeah, there's a bunch of rain, but there's a bunch of damage caused from it. Tornadoes. We've all heard of tornadoes. They're those, you've got your movies, Twister, Night of the Twister, all that different stuff. They talk about the different ones. These also have a scale in which they use, and it's called the Enhanced Fujita scale. Now, what they use is the wind scale, kind of like with the hurricanes. You got EFO through EF5, and what it does is it goes from light damage to incredible damage. What it'll do is they rate it on the wind speeds that they monitor as they're calling them out. They may be like, okay, you need to take shelter. There's a, F2 tornado heading your way if you're in this area, stuff like that. Now, you go through, you're going to have records of multiple. Like this one right here was a video of the top 10 deadliest tornadoes in history. And it goes through, and you can pull most of these up, YouTube, stuff like that, to watch them more on your time. But it'll go through, and it tells you stuff like when it happened. Maybe it was, the 3-state twister that it ended up going across 3 different states in one part, and it ended up killing however many people. You've got different ones that you could look up to tell you the severity of this stuff. No tornado would be not severe, but you've got some that are just really off the charts there as far as the damage. Whole towns may be destroyed, stuff like that. There have also been instances where they'll go through, they'll damage house, lift up for a little while, and then touch back down, and some houses may not even be touched. Now, your droughts. That's also going to be one of your weather catastrophic events. These also affect stuff. It's how does it affect different things. Droughts or farmers do not get along. If you've got a prolonged period of no rain, their crops are dead. They're not getting any money. They can't sell what they got. You also got cattle for farmers. They start running into problems with water. Different stuff. You may have water shortages. Some states and stuff will have water shortages to where you're on they cut off, you can't water your yard, you can't do this stuff because they're using that water for something else instead of being able to have it access for drinking. Once again, they have scales for this. You've got to abnormally dry. So sometimes you think, hey, we're in a drought. You may not even be in a drought. You may just be like, okay, it hadn't rained in a while. You're sitting there talking like it's some exceptional drought, like you're in the middle of a desert and the ground is so dry that you've got big cracks forming in it from where it's cracking. But this, where you may not see as much of the damage right then, it can be just as devastating as the other ones that we've covered. And then you also have blizzards. There's severe snowstorms. Texas, we're not as prone to blizzards, especially around the East Texas area as much as the further north up you get. We're not getting inches of snow per night and all that. But they come through. They have high winds. You can't see anything because the snow is just like sheets of snow coming through and block the visibility. Also, you got your Northeast Snowfall Impact Scale. It talks about your different categories. Then it talks about the value and all that. So how many inches did you get and all that. And it's rated on that. So we had a blizzard, okay, well it was a category 2, so we got somewhere in this type of range for your snow. Now, like I said, we talked about the floods in this video. We talked about the hurricanes, the different categories you've got, the scale that you use, the tornadoes, the droughts, blizzards. All of these can have a impact on the environment. Animals, animals are displaced from their homes, different stuff. They may be wiped out. You could have, if you're down to endangered animals or near extinct and you've got some of these that blow through, you could wipe out a whole species of animals just because that's all that's at, and they're only in that area. And if it floods and they've got nowhere to go, they may be gone. So, in the next video, we'll talk about the other half of the catastrophic events, the geological, the different events that fall into that range.